Hi, I'm Amador Aguilar, and this is Representative Teresa Alonso Leon, incumbent Democratic candidate for House District 22. Welcome, Teresa. Thank you for being here.
Gracias, Amador. I appreciate being here.
Gracias. I'm going to start with the questions. Tell us what you did for seniors and people with disabilities during your time in office.
Well, I just first want to say that I'm blessed to live in Woodburn, where many of our senior community come to retire. I have had the privilege of talking to many people at the doors as I canvass, and it helped me better understand what issues were important to them. In my first session, I worked closely on issues that affect our elders and people with disabilities, and as a member of the Healthcare Committee and the Ways and Means Human Services Committee. I've supported legislation that helps elderly and memory-impaired Oregonians by improving the quality of long-term care services and long-term care referral services. And then recently, in 2018, I introduced legislation that allows for Oregonians to offer prescription by mail through their pharmacy.
Tell us at least 3 of your positions that will encourage a senior or person with disabilities to re-elect you.
Yeah. I grew up in a family where you're taught to honor our elders and people with disabilities. So this means voters can expect me to honor everyone in Oregon. First, I believe that elder abuse is in our long-term care facilities is a serious problem, and our state needs to take serious actions to address it. And I want to make sure that they hold abusers accountable. Secondly, I support efforts to ensure that caregivers are fairly compensated for their work, and that the state puts funding into it to make sure that they are compensated well. Finally, I believe that all Oregonians should be able to have a secure retirement. They work very hard for it, so they can live out the years with dignity.
Thank you. Oregon Project Independence is a program that keeps seniors and people with disabilities in their own home, and yet every year proposed funding for OPI is significantly cut. What did you do to project current funding for OPI, and if re-elected, how you will ensure continued funding for this cost-effective program?
As a legislator and the granddaughter of someone who uses a wheelchair, I have learned to appreciate the many challenges that our elder and people with disabilities experience, which has helped me to have a greater understanding about the importance to keep our constituents in their own homes. I've been a strong advocate to make sure that our elders and people with disabilities do stay in their own homes and get the support that they need. During the last session, I fought for OPI to continue to get funding, and when re-elected, you can count on me to make sure that I will continue to advocate on behalf of OPI so that they can continue to get funding for services that many of our community members deserve.
Thank you. Please give us a 2-minute overview of what you did in the past legislative sessions to enhance service for seniors and people with disabilities.
As a legislator, I want to help Oregon move forward. This means that we need to focus on policies that help our elders and adults with disabilities and working families and our children. There have been so many people that have inspired me as I've knocked on the doors. And I want to share a quick story. In my first campaign, I knocked on a door and I heard a voice saying, "Come in," and we're taught not to go in. But I went ahead and opened the door, and he said, "Come on in, I can't come to you." And when I opened the door, I noticed that there was a gentleman who was bedridden in his dining room. And we had the best conversation, and he shared with me how important it was for him to stay in his home as he healed, and that the services that he was getting was just really important for him. So I better understood all the health needs that he needed and how to best support him. And those kinds of stories really inspired me to want to advocate on behalf of our elders and people with disabilities as a legislator. And that's what I have been doing since. And you can continue to count on me to be able to do that for everyone.
Okay, thank you. What will you do on a state level so that seniors and people with disability no longer face a lack of accessible and affordable housing?
Yeah. And that is an important issue, and I've heard that at the doors as well. I understand that many of our elders are on fixed incomes, so when they learn that they need to leave their homes because the owners of the house have decided to sell it, it makes me think about what is it that we need to do in policy. So one of the things that I think we need to do is end no-cause evictions and end rent spikes. Our folks who are on a budget or fixed income can't afford to just up and leave whenever a homeowner decides that they want to rent out their house to somebody else or want to sell it. We need to have clear policies to help our most vulnerable.
How would you prioritize state funding, including funding that match with federal funds for service to increase in senior and people with disability population?
So last year, I also had the opportunity to visit a facility for folks with disabilities. And I got to learn the importance of that facility and how they bring people together and help folks in there feel comfortable and confident. And to me, it's just really important to continue to support programs like that. Funding for critical services for our vulnerable population, including our elders and people with disabilities, is of great importance to me and for our state. Funding programs and services that are matched with federal dollars is a top priority for me, and I think it makes great fiscal sense to be able to take opportunity of what we can leverage on the state level and federal funding to make sure that our programs continue to get the services that they deserve.
Oh. Thank you so much for being here. It's great information, and thank you for you joining us. And this is Representative Teresa Alonso Leon, incumbent Democratic candidate for House District 22.